Good afternoon. What is a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Thursday the 29th of June. I've got a nice hot cup of tea. And a box to continue unboxing. And what I'm going to unbox next is this, which is First Responders. Doesn't say it, but okay, but it is. It's actually for. It's a Cypher System role-playing game. It's published by Monte Cook Games. So, not all monsters are make-believe. A fire roars through the apartment building. Rescuers struggle through surging flames to reach stranded families. But meanwhile, sparks drift over the nearby gas station. A train derailment has toppled a truckload of nuclear waste, exposing trapped passengers to the dangerous radiation. But reaching them risks shifting the wreckage and spilling even more. A grumbling volcano threatens the efforts to rescue lost hikers. When the lava begins to flow, whole towns are suddenly at risk. Floods, pandemics, earthquakes, and other crises that put lives and communities at risk. These are the monsters of a different sort, and they call for a different kind of hero. First Responders puts a new spin on adventure gaming, introducing systems for mega challenges that let you take on disasters of all sorts. First Responders gives you new rules and guidelines for adventure-sized disaster scenarios. As challenging and exciting as any RPG scenario, these are largely resolved through wit and skill rather than combat. Roster-style parties run multiple characters with different areas of expertise over the course of your campaign, calling up the right expert for each disaster. New character options including the responder type and loads of disaster-related gear, half a dozen scenarios, adventure-length disasters that put your team against terrible odds, and everything you need to create your own. Easily portable to Numenera and other Cypher Systems games, incorporate natural, man-made or supernatural mega challenges into any Cypher System game. A summon for the Cypher System requires the Cypher System rulebook to play. So, this is a role-playing game about dealing with disasters, natural or man-made, and playing out the responses to them, and hopefully saving the day. So here we have open up a nice shot of on the mountainside of trying to get climbers off a mountainside in a difficult situation, perhaps an avalanche, and so on. Inside back cover we have a different shot, but it's a fire, and in between, again, more shots of heroic rescuers at work. Okay, just putting something down to stop the glare. So we open the dispatch from the game table, look forward before we go on to the First Responder basics. Essentially, tell you what a First Responder game is about. What's the emergency services? What do characters do? And how to play, issue realism, science, physics, language, helping set the mood, don't have a plan, good advice, so on, and know what you know, and you're on the scene. Now what do you do next? Because you're there, you're the first responder, and what actions can the characters take? So which includes suppress, quell, vent, contain, detect, rescue, heal. Key actions you would think essentially of your first responders. And then we have the roster system, just giving a guide to, and then you've got consent there and explicitness discussed for the game. And that includes a note about gallows humour and death and danger. And then we have a list of possible inspirations there. In the sidebar, and then we go into the responders themselves and how to create them. Includes how to create a character, and putting together a crew, useful skills, and roles for the genre in general. And then we have responders' backgrounds and background connections. A couple of tables there to roll on. discussion of responder player intrusions. That's important because one of the features of the Cypher system are intrusions where, and there are two types. You've got the player intrusions where a player plays experience points to change something, but more importantly, you have GM intrusions where the GM essentially explains a situation to the players, hands a couple of experience points to the player that will primarily affect, and he gets to keep one and then give another one to another player. The aim being there to essentially increase the drama, make something interesting happen, and and then the players gain experience points from it. And then we have sort of like first, second tier responders. Essentially, those are the stats, benefits gained, descriptors and focus, because you're all essentially playing a responder, a type of responder who does something. Can be battles the blaze. So just see, so you've got essentially a whole list of different, that's the new one added. Then you look at the core rulebook for the others, which would fall into, the different foci that come from the potential roles. So, for example, you have a responder who, for example, explores dark places, search and rescue, or moves like a cat, ski patrol, or water rescue, for example. It's basically, this is a guide to, how to use the rules given in the core rules in the Cypher System rulebook to essentially to apply them to a first responder campaign. Gear and equipment, really quite a lengthy list because it's all important for handling different situations. So protective gear, you've got weapons, and they're not as such. I mean, best you might have a knife, but essentially a moderate could be sort of like a fire extinguisher, and so on, and then additional gear and equipment as well before getting into running the game. Creating a first responders game, and how to use the challenges, going into disaster mode. Literally being followed around by the sun here. Treating victims. See if I can just move that. That's a bit better. Not much, but a bit. And then the advice here: be ready to split the party. So you've the party, and then bring them back together again. But essentially, they will run off and deal with different aspects of the emergency. Come back, deal with them. We have a disaster primer, including so using fire as a threat to be overcome, floods. So different scale of floods and handling them, unstable structures, whether that's due to fire or earthquake and so on, campaigns and settings. So we have an organisation called SAVER, Sovereign Agency of Veteran Emergency Responders, and then we have suggestion of using first responders in other genres, and then we've got additional ideas for reskinning them into different genres, so science fiction, fantasy, and horror, and then basically applying fires in a horror setting or in a fantasy setting, looking at those different situations in those genres, and even coming up to more up to date, unfortunately, with pandemics before we get onto NPCs. We've got a roster of NPCs, and settled ciphers in the setting. Ciphers are the I mean, essentially they can be described as the sort of like the sort of magical abilities of the Cypher System, but but they're sort of like ways of handling fantastical elements to a certain extent. So, for example, but here they've been very much pushed back to sort of like towards the mundane. So, you have things like dumb luck or gut feeling or Hail Mary, rather than something that protects you from poison, for example. And then we're on to scenarios. We've got fires, different sizes. Again, essentially taking the rules from earlier and applying them, giving them situations. And for example, talking about wildfire, like a wildfire objective map. Skyscraper fire, so you want to do, towering inferno. Burning skyscraper cross section there. Chemical plant fire. Go on to volcanoes. We've got a volcano eruption. Just trying to show you that there. Not very well, I'm afraid. Do the same with floods. So here, for example, we have a dam breach map. And lots of guides there, and then we do the same thing for earthquakes. And they've got magnitude 8 earthquake objective map, so on. Nuclear disasters. Pandemics. Yeah, for example, fever in the heartland. So on. Back matter, part 5, and this gives you emergency lingo and glossary. Sample characters. And that's it, really. You've got a GM tracking sheet and player reference codes, and then the disaster index there. So yeah, that is First Responders from Monte Cook Games for use with the Cypher System. Hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a box containing a book, which I will unbox and discuss to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing of the Nook. Be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.